Hey everyone, Joe here. I recently sat down for another chat with Johannes from Aligned Games. Here we talk about why we'll be sticking with Unity anyway, despite its flaws, and discuss the trade-offs of switching engines to Unreal and Godot. We also talk about having a life goal of making multiple games versus making a single particular game. I'll be releasing the full hour-plus conversation in a few days if you prefer that format.
To me, the next part of this topic is, are you going to stick with it? And to me, Unity is, negative things aside, it is the number one reason that I have a career in video game development. It's the platform that allowed me to make games when I was just starting out. It's the platform that people made prototypes for, that people made tutorials for, and no matter what happens to it, I'll always be extremely thankful to it.
Yeah. And I'm definitely going to stick with it. Like I said, I was going to stick with it even before the runtime fee thing got announced. I do see all the positive indications of things moving in the right direction. Like I said, the C-suite being replaced with, at least apparently having a more engineering focus. I'm seeing some Unity people, like higher level Unity people, community people, on Twitter talking about, good things coming. And, it could all be, marketing BS, but I'm inclined to give them the benefit of the doubt, at least this once.
Yeah, and just thinking about it from the perspective of just marketing, public-facing stuff aside, just the engine itself, it is still a fantastic piece of software to use, and it's still extremely powerful. Depending on the user.
Yeah. I was doing some development work last night, and I was able to just get in using some temporary assets, which we'll talk about later. We'll talk about asset packs later. Just get in a bunch of new unit types so quickly, like full unit types into the game where, I had, 4 different kinds of helicopter in the game before, and now I've got like 8, and it was in the matter of like, maybe an hour, and I've got all this new content in the game. It was so quick and easy to do. So I definitely think the engine is a benefit.
That sounds like scope creep to me.
Nope, no, it's not. It's content. Maybe we'll talk about scope creep some other time. A lot of people talking about how they did jump ship from Unity and they're moving to other engines, Epic or not Epic, Unreal or Godot, or people who said, I did make that switch, and yeah, the runtime fee changing is nice, but too little, too late. I'm on this new engine now. I'm just going all in on that. That's fine, I think. I think one thing people need to take into account, at least when jumping to something like Unreal, is Epic's a big company too, and they're owned by one of the biggest, baddest publicly traded companies on Earth, Tencent, which is a Chinese company. And I don't know if you've been keeping track of geopolitics lately, but I think there's a bill on the U.S. House floor to ban Chinese the drone company DJI. It's like one of the biggest drone companies. They're going to get banned in the U.S. or something like that, or who knows. I'm not entirely sure what's going on with that topic, but this is the whole Taiwan situation. We saw what happened with Russia and Ukraine. Lots of stuff could happen there with a Tencent owned company. Maybe they get spun off or sold or who knows what. Tim Sweeney. I think Tim Sweeney's the CEO. I think he's an engineer too, which is one of the reasons why I think Epic has been doing well, is they have sort of a future-minded engineer at the head. He may retire, and you never know what's going to happen after that. I'm not predicting that Epic will become some kind of evil company, but Unity was the poster child at one point, and it had its fall. There's no reason Epic couldn't have the same thing happen to them. Not saying you shouldn't go to Unreal because of that. I'm not trying to spread spread FUD or anything like that. But
well, to me, I think the more competition there is, the better it is. And, with the East becoming the biggest market in gaming now, I mean, I don't know if you've seen the success of Wukong.
Oh, yeah.
Apparently I think, I might be wrong, but I think China is now the biggest demographic on Steam. So it's overtaken America. I might have that wrong, but I remember seeing something like that in the last couple of weeks. So you might be onto something there with them being. I've never been a fan of Tencent, but Um, it's I don't think there is such a thing as a bad or a good engine based on who runs it, because at the end of the day it's a piece of software that has, I think what's bad and good is the public facing stuff, and of course, that is what people see, so I get that that's why people make decisions on whether or not to use something. But for me, not using Unity it would never have happened for me because of how invested I am as a quote unquote partner to Unity, because I've built my livelihood on Unity. And that is spread to other stores, specifically in my case, like 3D stores and stuff like that. And I do want to I want to use Epic stuff as well, but there's only so much time in a day, and so I'm not saying you have to choose one engine, but at the end of the day, you're always going to have your favorite engine, and to me, that's just always been Unity, regardless of the public-facing stuff.
Yeah. And I guess the other thing people would say as well, okay, yeah, don't do Unity, don't do Unreal, do Godot, because Godot is open source. Maybe Godot is on its way to becoming, like you said, the people's engine, the blender of game engines. I think when I started out, Godot, at least on the 3D side, was too new or too unfinished at the point I started a few years ago. I think that's changing now. So I think if somebody's starting today, there's no reason not to check out Godot. Go have fun with that.
Well, I think Godot is now where Unity was when I started, so to say.
Yeah. In the future, if I ever am doing like a game prototype, I might check out Godot. Although one of the things is that, like, well, Godot kind of has a different way of doing things, and I know it supports C#, but I think it prefers, or there's better support for their Godot script. I'm not that familiar with it. I'm sure you can make C# work. Don't at me, bro. But I have so much Unity knowledge at this point that if I were to prototype a game, like just let's say I had a new game idea that I decided I wanted to prototype, I could probably do it much more quickly in Unity than I could also having to learn how do you do things in Godot. So you get a little bit of, I don't want to call it lock-in, but it's a little bit of kind of like platform lock-in just from your own knowledge, your own experience. I also have, we're going to talk about asset packs a little later. I have a ton of Unity assets that are great and that I've built up over the years, that I could just draw on. And some of them I can port into other engines like Godot because I have like the models or whatever. But some of them are systems-based things or graphics-based things where you wouldn't be able to port it into that engine.
Yeah, so also, this is not really on topic, but I'm not sure about the licensing with doing that. I'm not really sure if that is allowed.
Oh, sorry. I didn't mean stuff from the Unity asset store. I have some models from Cinti.
Okay.
It's like a low poly pack where I bought it directly from their
from the website.
From their website, yeah.
This is not off topic because we are going to talk about assets. But have you seen how much money Cinti makes from their assets? I went on their website once, and they have this counter that shows every time a sale is made on their website, not even on their assets.
Oh no, I haven't seen that.
Just being on the website for like 5 minutes checking out their stuff, it's like every couple of seconds notification pops up with this was just sold. So they make they make good money over there. But they are probably the best known asset creator out there in terms of that specific style, what I call polygonal assets.
Yeah. Just going quickly back to sort of not why I'm stuck on Unity, but like things keeping me on Unity. Because I did have one or two people in comments on my devlog say, you should use Godot, or, it's a shame you're using Unity, you should use Godot. And I mean, I don't know if that's the best way to evangelize your favorite engine, but you do you. But I have a few things that I'm using in Unity that are really helpful, that are like system specific. So one is the NavMesh agent-based pathfinding system. I didn't write any of that myself, and it's fundamental to the operation of my game. So having something like that built in is great. It's possible that Godot has something similar. I don't know if it does.
I think they
not.
incorporated a third party one to be
Okay.
their standard one, sort of like what Unity did with Text Mesh Pro.
Okay.
I might be wrong,
Um,
but
yeah, so maybe if I was starting the game anew today, I could use whatever that system is, but switching from one to the other could be challenging. Um, One of the important things stylistically for my game is I'm using an asset called Buto by Aka Software. I don't know how he pronounces it. Who's a great independent uh, asset creator. Really great guy. Does all kinds of cool graphical stuff. And I'm using Buto for volumetric shadows, the volumetric light effects, which I won't get into the style stuff, but I think it's crucial for the look of my game. It's a callback to World in Conflict. It's one of the things that I, loved about the visuals of that game. So like, if there isn't some kind of drop-in solution for volumetric light in Godot, I didn't write that myself because I'm not a crazy graphics wizard. That's a package I'm using.
yeah.
That would be a huge loss if I had to switch.
Well,
And then
I mean,
just the third. Sorry, go ahead.
no, I was just going to say I understand. I understand exactly where you're coming from because I just opened up my program, my project operator 8 just to see how many packages I have in my package manager, and I have 291 asset packages that I've purchased over the years. So that is a lot of stuff. And in the same way, stuff like volumetric blood, volumetric light in itself. There's different solutions on Unity because people make them and sell them. But I know exactly what you mean. Volumetric particle effects, smokes, and stuff like that. When you have these things and you incorporate them, you can't really just go without them. But I do not think you should switch your project to another engine. I think that would be crazy. If you start a new project, that's different, but switching now would be wild.
Oh yeah. It's not even a question for me. Like it would just kill the project right away.
Yeah.
Like people don't know how much work it would be to take, almost 2.5, almost 3 years of work now, and just say, okay, I'm switching engines. Like I might as well just put my project on hold for another 3 years because that's how long it would take.
Yeah,
Probably, or
it's
maybe a year or two. It's just not worth it.
yeah, and an example
Um,
of someone that did do this, but it makes sense in their case, is there's this game, Road to Vostok, I think it's called. And this game it used to be sort of like the poster child for Unity. Super realistic graphics, survival stalker style game, and it has so much fanfare. I'm gonna open this up just to be specific with it. Road to, I'm gonna put it on the screen as well if I remember, just because I want to just show you their Patreon. Now this is one person making this. Road to Vostok.
oh,
So he has on Patreon 2,280 members, $3,500 a month. That's what he gets through Patreon. So if that's your situation, that makes sense. You can switch to a different. He was very much not happy with Unity, switched to Godot, and now he's become sort of the poster child, I guess. But he is in a lot of marketing stuff with Godot. And but when your project is that big and makes that much revenue pre-release, that's different, because he's said multiple times he doesn't want to make games, he wants to make a game. That project is the project for him. He's going to work on that the rest of his life. So that's different. That's an example of someone that can switch engines, but for most of us, don't even think about it.
yeah. One other thing that I depend on a lot on the Unity side is Cinemachine for all of the the camera stuff, both like cinematic camera stuff, trailer stuff, video clips, and then also stuff in the game. There might be a similar system, there probably is in Godot, but again, switching from one to the other would be
and having to
just a,
relearn it and all of that stuff.
yeah,
It just
yeah,
seems too much. But
yeah. The biggest thing for me is that there just doesn't seem to be a concrete reason to switch, other than sort of a nebulous, unfounded fears that Unity's going to get worse and you're going to be sorry that you didn't move when you could. And that's just not motivating for me right now.
Yeah, that doesn't
So
that doesn't even make sense to me, really. Get worse in the way of the engine is exactly where I need it to be right now for the project I'm working on. So it doesn't matter to me if it gets worse in the future, because I'm not. So when I work on a project, let's say I'm using Unity 22, 2023 point whatever. I'm not going to upgrade past a certain point, because then you're introducing new APIs and stuff. So now I need to rewrite a bunch of my code for Unity 6 that's coming out, for instance. I'm not going to do that. So it doesn't really matter to me if Unity 6 turns out to be bad, because I'm not going to use it until I start a new project.
yeah, I'm not sure what I'll be doing there. I'm a little bit kind of halfway between the two of you, where you're sort of using it for, okay, this project is going to use this version of Unity, and then next project is just, we're going to start anew in terms of like which engine should I use, what version should I use, and the Road to Vostok guy, whatever his name is. I do sort of see a little bit of that in myself. Of, you know, I don't want to say that I don't want to make games, but this is the game that I want to make. I don't have other, like, oh, I'm going to make this, and then I'm going to make this, and after this, I'm going to make this. Like, I don't have this long list of
That's
games I want to
interesting.
make in the future. I have some, like, little ideas of, like, oh, maybe this would be nice, but this is the one where, like, it's the life project where, like, this is the one I want to get done.
That's very interesting
On
to
my
me.
deathbed, if I had gotten this thing out, I'll be like, all right, I did that thing. That's the one thing I wanted to put out.
I think
Anything else would just be for fun.
I think I might have been like you at some point, but no, I was never like that. I was always going to do multiple projects, but I m- I wasn't a failure to that extent. But most of my games didn't make a whole lot of money when I started out, and so I think I am inspired by my own failure. I'm inspired to do better and to be better. So if my game Operator 8 comes out and it does $5,000 more than the previous game did, then to me that's success. It's not financial success necessarily, but it's success to the extent of it's better than what I had before. So I'm someone that builds on things and iterates on things. But that's also interesting that there are different sorts of developers out there. People that are more like you, that have this one project that they just want to get done. And probably you're probably going to do a lot of post-release stuff for it as well, I would assume.
Oh yeah, I mean, that's the thing. A lot of developers are like, oh, I get so many different game ideas. They get distracted. They go on to different things. They fall in love with one project and then another, and then the other one languishes. The things that always keep popping up in my mind are like, ooh, I could do this as an expansion. I could do this as a, alternate setting. I could do this as a, it's all like building on top of the base game, not separate new games. So
Yeah.
that may mean that I've got quite a while of just building on top of this one thing for a long time. That's the plan anyway.